morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I'm here to answer a question that I kind of raised in a video the other day, and that a bunch of you have been asking me about since, and ever since I raised the issue, a bunch of you have been going, no, Wossy, we would very much like a video about that. So I think it's time to have a video about it, and essentially, the video is going to be about why the US gets better products than we do in the UK and elsewhere in Europe and some other territories. Now, several things need to be pointed out before we get going here. Multiple caveats need to be added. First of all, no, I'm not saying that every single American product is better than every single European product. That would be ridiculous. I'm saying that there is a general trend that the US gets better products. I am not saying it is a hard and fast rule. And also, we know very little. I don't work for the Pokémon company. I've been very lucky that I've been hired occasionally on a contractual basis to provide commentary on some of their events, voice and videos, etc., and I've very much enjoyed it. But I don't work for Pokémon, and I don't have inside knowledge. I do have well over a decade's experience teaching business and a lot of knowledge about business, so I can give you some of the potential reasons, but the fact of the matter is a lot of the reasons are going to be to do with specific contracts and the inner workings of factories where only a few people in the Pokemon company would really know, and I don't even work for the Pokemon company, so there's no way I would know. So let's start off with a couple of examples. I showed you the other day these Evolution V Max boxes, and I told you they were the best products ever, and I meant it, incidentally. I absolutely meant it. And I made the video about them, with the image on the left of all three of them together, and then shortly after, I got the set of images like the Flareon on the right. Obviously, I'm showing you the Flareon. That Okacheke artwork is beyond amazing. It's one of my very, very favourite artworks ever, and I do not say that lightly. And when I showed you this, I went, well, hang on a second, this is a little bit strange. Because you will notice that on the left, our box, we get the two promos, the Jumbo promo, 5 packs and a pin. Whereas in the US, they get 2 promos, a Jumbo promo, 6 packs, a pin and a coin. So if you just put the packs side by side, the American release and the UK release, you will notice that the American version has an extra pack and it has a coin. Okay, lovely. So you might be thinking at this stage, well, you know what, it's alright, at least the UK box will be a little bit cheaper, at least you've got that going for you. You would think so, ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't you? But no. That is actually not the case. That is not the case at all. You see, the English version is retailing for £37.99, which is an absolutely fair price. I have absolutely no issues with. And the US version is retailing for $39.99. And you might be going, well, hang on a second, Wossy, you know, what about the exchange rate and all of that? Surely it's about right. No. $40 at today's exchange rate as I'm recording equates to £29.77. Or to put it bluntly, about a tenner less. So not only does the American box come with an extra pack, but it also comes with an extra coin, and it also comes in at about $10 less. Clearly we're having an inferior product in terms of value, but I'm not moaning about that or saying it's a bad thing. It's perfectly understandable. We'll get there in a moment. One more example, because when we get to celebrations, the product that everyone is after, the one that everyone's looking at, is this Ultra Premium Collection. It's got the gold Pikachu, the gold Pokeball, the metal base set Pikachu, the metal base set Charizard. It is going to be the big product. And over in the US, it is retailing for $120, which is an extremely premium product. However, if we convert $120 to British pounds at today's exchange rate, that is £89.32. So you might be thinking, well, you know, 90 quid, maybe 100 quid. If you don't know, which the majority of my audience is American, I'm assuming you probably don't, £150 should be 89, is 150. Or to put it another way, if we convert that into dollars, that means that in dollars we are spending £201.52. So your $120 box is a $200 box for us. And once again, as a man who has studied and taught business for many, many years, this makes perfect sense. And there are a bunch of reasons. So let's take the coin in the Eevee box. That is the easiest example I can give you right now. It's made in the US. Now, I don't know this coin is made in the US, obviously. I don't have that kind of information. But the fact of the matter is, it's clearly made in the US. And I know it's just a coin, and I know those coins will take pennies to produce. But the fact of the matter is, yes, they take pennies to produce, but then you've got to ship all of those coins over to the UK. And actually, when you start adding up, and the cost of shipping is very cheap, if you put it on a boat, put it on a plane, it's super expensive. But you put it on a boat and the shipping is nice and cheap. So you go, well, hang on a second, so you've just said the coin is cheap. You've just said it's cheap to ship, but it's also time. Because not only have you got to make those coins, which cost money, and ship those coins, which cost money, you've also got to get those coins to the UK early enough that they can then be packaged into these boxes. And there's your other issue. Because when they're produced in the US, it's not just about the cost of then getting them to the UK, Europe, etc. It is also the time it takes, because you've got a whole flowchart of stuff happening. It's not just print the coin, send it to the UK, because that coin has got to get to the UK in time to be packaged into the boxes or whatever, and that just might not be possible. Okay, I hear you ask. So why don't they just make that coin in the UK, Europe, etc.? And the answer is, it is remarkably difficult to print these coins in big numbers. Because essentially what you got to do is you've got to have the factory space. You've got to find a factory to rent. Maybe Pokemon owns some of their own factories. What an awful lot of companies do is they just hire factory space in a generic factory, and then they bring in the machines, they do it from there. So somewhere Pokemon will have a coin printing factory, or a factory they use for coin printing. And there may well be one in Europe. But even if there is one in Europe, you've got to set it up. You've got to change it so it prints these coins. And that can honestly take half a day, a day's work, just to move it around. And you've got to remember there are other products with other coins. And maybe that factory isn't just being used to produce coins. And now all of a sudden, that coin, which only costs a few pennies and doesn't seem like a big deal, is costing a day, 2 days of that factory just to print the coins. But you might not have a day, 2 days to print those coins. Again, one of the things we know about Pokemon is that lately, because of the gigantic jump in demand, along with the supply issues that we've had from the damn panic, the supply of Pokemon cards has been awkward, and Pokemon have literally put out official press releases going, look, or official statements, whatever you want to call them, we are trying to increase our supply. So now we go back to the coin example, and again, it's a simple example, but I think it illustrates my point. Yes, you probably could make that coin in a factory in Europe, but to turn the factory into printing that coin for today, and then actually printing them, and then changing it to print another coin, some cards, whatever. Again, I don't know the individual machines, that's not the point here. That could legitimately take the factory, or a significant portion of the factory, out of action for a day or two just to print these coins. At which point, it doesn't become worth it. Whereas over in the US, where they probably have, I'm willing to bet, more production. Again, I don't know this for a fact. I suspect they do, but I don't know it for a fact. They may well have a factory where they can afford to spend the time printing up these coins. So then we get back to the example of shipping them over to the UK, and although cost-wise maybe it's not a huge deal, but actually, you know what? The time it's going to take to ship it over, it doesn't work. Then, of course, you got to remember, well, hang on a second, this box is already about 35% more expensive in the UK without the coin. If we now print the coin and ship the coin to the UK to put in the boxes, we've got to increase the price again, and maybe it's not a £38 product, it's a £40 product. And again, the people who work at Pokemon will have a mountain of data that tells them that charging $37.99 is going to be far more beneficial in terms of sales, revenue, and profit than charging $39.99. Again, I don't have the figures myself to go into, but I guarantee you there are people that work at the Pokemon company who have all of this data. There is a very good reason these products in the UK are $37.99, not $39.99, because that £2 reduction, which might seem insignificant, all the data they've got suggests that this will boost sales enough that they will actually make more money off it in the long run. Also a wonderful example of the fact that Pokemon are really not just trying to squeeze you for every penny they can. This could easily be a $39.99 product and they just print a few less and boom, there we go. The fact they're charging $37.99 and they're almost certainly printing as many as they can, that tells you that actually they're trying to get the product into the hands of consumers, not just trying to wring money out of you, which honestly by now you should know, but there's a nice little example. And that's just the coin, right? I could legitimately make hours and hours of videos on this topic. So now we get to the question of things like, well, why does the US product have an extra pack in it? And the answer is extremely simple. Extremely simple. Money. There is a cost to all of this. There is a cost to the promo cards, a cost to the jumbos, a cost to the pin, and a cost to the packs. And again, it is likely that some of this stuff is being shipped over from the US, just because otherwise it would likely be a cheaper product. And the fact of the matter is, Pokemon sit down and they go through all their numbers and they look at all of their costs and they go, if we're going to sell this at $37.99, which we think is a fair price and we think is a good price, we've got to do it with 5 packs. If we put another pack in, we've now got to charge 40 quid or 42 quid or something along those lines, and that's a price point we're not looking at. It's one that our customers are not going to react to as well. Because, again, you know, the price that people are willing to pay is the price that people are happy with. It's a good price for the customers. So, if 42, yeah, fine, it might be the meaning of life. But, you know what? It's not as good a price for a Pokemon TCG product, so they take 1 pack out and it becomes a 5-pack product. And that is a very, very simple version of why these Flareon boxes are a fair bit cheaper in the US. If you want the Celebrations box, that is less easy to describe, because I haven't got easy things like the coin example, but this is basically telling me it's being produced in the US. Simple as that. This is being produced in the US. It's the only real explanation. And this makes sense. There are a bunch of components in here, like the gold cards and the metal cards, which are very rarely produced. Pokemon don't tend to make gold and metal cards very often at all. What that tells me is that they are having to set up their factories very specially just for those things, and there is no way they're doing that in the US and in Europe. Which basically means this box gets produced in the US, and it gets completely produced in the US, which means you're not just shipping it to the UK, but you're shipping it as completed products. And picture for me, if you can, ladies and gentlemen, a bunch of coins. And if I want to make, 100,000 of those Pokemon coins, imagine the kind of box it would fit in. Now imagine the kind of box where 100,000 of these made-up boxed products would need to fit in. The shipping cost of this at a decent volume, which we know is what Pokemon is aiming for, is going to be huge. And that's the simple explanation here. It's not as fun as a coin example, I'm sorry, but the fact of the matter is, these boxes, and again, I don't know this for a fact, but this is using my business knowledge and, making sensible assumptions. Because of the unique components, it's almost certainly being completely made in the US. If you take something like the Elite Trainer box, well, it's just packs, which are going to be made in such high quantities, they can repurpose factories in Europe to do that. And promo cards like Greninja, which are either being produced in such high numbers over here or being shipped over at a much lower cost because they're individual cards. And you go, well, hang on a second, that makes perfect sense. Here, it seems, and I don't know for a fact, but this is, a very sensible thing to predict, I would say, that it's got to be completely made in the US. And because it's got to be made completely in the US, it's got to be shipped as a complete product. And when you're shipping them as complete products, that makes them pretty gosh darned expensive. So there we go. There's my theory. And some of this I am extremely confident is right, and some of it is probably not quite right. But again, my aim in this video was not to tell you exactly what's happening with these products, because I don't know, I don't work for Pokemon. My point was to give you an example. Maybe the Ultra Premium Collection is completely made in the US and shipped over here already made up, which means much bigger and much higher shipping costs, which I think has happened, or maybe it's not, maybe it's something else, but that's the kind of thing that could happen. Maybe those Evolution coins could be made in Europe, and there is a completely different reason why they're not being included in the box. But the fact that they didn't have the spare factory capacity for coins, and it was too time consuming to ship them over, that does make sense. Not saying it's absolutely right, But I'm saying there are absolute reasons. The fact of the matter is, the Pokemon Company is based in the US, which means that their production originates in the US, and or internationally at least, as in outside of Japan. Which means that places like Europe are not going to have as high production. This is going to keep happening. Some of our products are objectively more expensive and less good value than the products in the US. But I think the very important thing to point out, because I've had this question a lot when people have noticed, there's a good reason for it. They're not being horrible, they're not trying to rip us off, they are essentially having to give us one or two fewer booster packs, having to increase the price a little bit, because that's the only way we get the product. And I'm telling you right now, if you're telling me I've got to pay an extra tenner and get one less pack, but I get to go and buy this Okacheke artwork Flareon, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, not even a question. So there we go. That's a video you all asked for, and I know for some of you that might not be quite as much detail as you'd like. I could keep going for a very long time. It's a very complicated topic, but hopefully this gave you a nice overview. For now, I just want to know what you think about all of this and how excited you are for both Celebrations and these Eevee products. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.